I watched that 8-part story, so you don't have to. That's Tavy, and she's going to jail, so she said she's going to tell it all. So she lets us know that she met her partner Danielle back in May last year, 2024. The first time they linked up, Danielle actually brought a bunch of people with her, one of which was a man and another friend named Terry. And she told her, like, it's weird that you brought a man, like, we're 2 women, I don't understand. You're doing it for your safety, but it's making me uncomfortable. And then Terry was cool. Terry and Tavy actually started being friends. Terry would tell her, like, hey, I'm going through this. Like, she would cry. She would tell her business. She thought she was cool. And then all of a sudden, out of left field, Terry didn't like Tavy anymore. Danielle would act oblivious. Like, I don't know why Terry's treating you so weird. Like, I didn't say nothing bad about you. Like, I only talk about you in a positive light. But then it all started to make sense when Tavy finally went through Danielle's phone and she saw messages that she would send between Danielle and Tavy. And then Danielle would cut her portion out of what she's saying and she would send it over to Terry and make it seem like, you know, Tavy was just on her so tough, like, need you, want you. I'm responding to what you said. You said you're an intentional dater and this is like your intentions when it comes to dating me. I'm responding to you. I'm not initiating this conversation, but you're making it seem to your friends like I'm the one that's just like so about you. And then Tavy saw a response from Terry back to Danielle saying like, oh, are you going to tell her the truth? Are you going to tell her you're not really into her like that? So Tavy started to pick up on the fact that Danielle's a little bit of a liar. Some of the early red flags that Tavy started noticing about Danielle was that she bashed anybody and everybody, especially if she was close to them. She had this one friend named Tariana, and the minute Tariana would leave, she was a dark-skinned girl, they would just talk mess about her, like, oh, she just sleeps around with all these random men, she's ghetto, she doesn't have any home training, she has a bad body, she's dusty. I'm pretty sure this is the friend they were talking about who has an autistic son apparently, and they were trying to say like he has an autistic son because she just be sleeping with all these random men. Like, Danielle and her friends love to talk about whoever's not in the room currently. When Tavy called Danielle out about that, like, hey, why do you do that? She was like, oh, this is nothing that we wouldn't say in front of their face. Then Tavy introduces us to 2 other people. One is Danielle's sister, Diani, and then Diani's best friend, Zaria. Now, it comes to light that Zaria and Danielle actually had a sexual past. Now, when Tavy found out about that, she didn't really care. She was like, whatever, like, that's your past. It is what it is. But what she had a problem with was the fact that Danielle had an issue with Tavy talking to her exes. If you can still be around somebody that you slept with, I for sure can do the same as well. Mind you, Tavy was around Zaria a bunch of times before she ever knew that Danielle and her had a past. And so when she finally found out, Danielle's excuse was like, oh, I'm not even really her friend. Like, it's not even like that. She doesn't even like Zaria for a friend for her sister. She thinks she's mean and manipulative. Danielle would say, oh, Zaria just cares about men. She doesn't even care about her own kids. And so when Tavy would ask her friends about this, like, hey, what do you guys think about this? These are like massive red flags, right? Her friends would be like, yeah, but maybe Danielle's autistic too. They were like, there's something not all the way right about this girl. And then another thing that Tavy really didn't like about Danielle was how much she bashed her own ex. Like, oh, she went to jail for being a prostitute. Oh, she's such a bad mom. She made me sell booger sugar. She be hitting on her kids. She cheated on me with a man. To the point that Tavy was like, I know too much about this girl. Like, I know her business inside and out, and it shouldn't be like that. Danielle would say, yeah, I paid all the bills. And Tavy was sitting there like, I know you want me to pry. I know you want me to ask more questions about it, but I honestly don't care. Like, that's your past. Leave it alone. I don't even know why you're bringing it up. But later on, it made sense because Tavy ended up finding out that their entire relationship, Danielle was talking to her ex. Tavy also feels like Danielle was trying to make her jealous, but Tavy was like, I saw your ex. She's really not all that. Regardless of all these red flags that Danielle is showing to Tavy, she was really sweet to her. She would buy her a bunch of stuff. She kept her fed. At the end of the day, Tavy said that she liked how much Danielle liked her, and that kept her in the loop a little bit longer than it probably should have. Tavy said that a lot of things changed when one of Danielle's really good friends came to town named Ro, and she was like this pretty African girl. And she said that in the whole story, Ro is actually the prettiest one of them all. Danielle was trying to do weird things and like make it seem like, oh, everyone's so jealous of Ro, da-da-da-da. But Tavy realized like it's not that they're jealous of Ro, it's the fact that you lack boundaries. Ultimately, Tavy and Ro never had any issues. The issue was that Danielle switched up her morals, her values, her principles. The minute like somebody came around, she would morph like almost like a chameleon to be whoever this person needed her to be. And so when Tavy told Danielle about herself and said, hey, these are actually the issues, Danielle was like, you know what, I really appreciate that. Thank you for telling me about myself. Like, I appreciate the different perspective. So the first major issue came when it was Ro's birthday and Danielle and Ro were out, right? And then Tavy was trying to call Danielle, and when she picked up, she sounded really annoyed and like nonchalant, like trying to play Tavy essentially. And then Tavy can hear in the background people being like, who are you on the phone with? Hang up on them. Da 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 da. And so Tavy's like, what did I do, or what did you say to them for them to feel like they should be like disrespectful towards me? What Tavy was essentially saying was, in front of me, you worship the ground I walk. You are like so obsessed with me. You want to be with me. But then when other people come around, all of a sudden it's, ugh, why is she calling me? Like being nonchalant, being really cold towards me. Like, why are you switching up? And so Tavy's trying to talk it out through text messaging, but when Danielle was being so dry, she said, you know what, we don't have to do this anymore. Like, we could just call it a day. And Danielle basically told her, like, yeah, that's fine. But what Tavy also noticed was the fact that in text messaging, because, you know, that's hard evidence, that's proof, Danielle would act a certain way. Super cold, super nonchalant. But then when they get on the phone, she's, oh, baby this, oh, baby that. Like, because there's no proof of that. She really was noticing that this girl had two different personalities. So shortly after that, Tavy ended up getting drunk, and she ended up sending Danielle a voice note and just basically telling her about herself, like, again. And it seemed like Danielle understood, like, why they broke up and was, like, very receptive to it at first. Tavy was like, I wasn't being disrespectful. I wasn't yelling at her. Apparently, Danielle took that voice note and sent it to everybody in her phone. Tavy has no idea that she sent it to everybody on her phone, because the way that Danielle's responding is, oh, thank you so much for telling me about myself. Like, I really appreciate it. But in hindsight, she's like, wow, you were really playing both sides. And so the very next day, Danielle ends up reaching out to Tavy and apologizing, and they end up reconciling. The wild part is, while Danielle's over here reconciling with Tavy, Danielle's also telling all her people, like, I don't know why she's calling me. I don't know why she's on my phone. Like, she's so annoying. Some of the other arguments that they had in their relationship was about Tavy being a midnight ballerina. This wasn't the first time that Danielle dated a midnight ballerina, and so she has trauma around it. She's like, you're going to be, you know, sleeping with men on me, da da da. My ex used to be in the car for like 6 hours with men that I didn't know about. And so it almost made Tavy feel like she had to prove something to Danielle and be like, no, I'm different, da da da, and it put her in a weird dynamic. And then at the same time, she was like, look, Danielle's a full-fledged alcoholic. Tavy would work her day job, and then she would go do her night job. And so arguments started to happen when Danielle would get way too drunk, and she would always want Tavy to be around her, be next to her, come over, blah, blah, blah. And Tavy would do that. But then in the background, Danielle's telling people, oh, I don't know why she be just popping up on me. I don't know why she always coming over. So then one day, Tavy's getting up to go to work, right? And Danielle says a slick comment talking about, I would never take a stripper seriously anyway. So Tavy clapped back and was like, but you dated a prostitute for like 3 years, took care of her babies. Like, what are you even talking about right now? Mind you, the stripper was cheating on you the whole time. So the next day, Danielle's acting like she never said the stripper comment, or that Tavy took it the wrong way, blah, blah, blah. She's trying to apologize to her. But then when Tavy was discussing it with Danielle's sister, because they overheard everything, the sister and Zaria, the best friend, all of a sudden, Danielle switched up her whole tone, talking about, how you mad that I don't want to take a stripper seriously? So then Tavy and Danielle are like yelling at each other. So then fast forward, Danielle ends up coming back and being like, yeah, my friend said that you're actually really toxic, but they don't know you. I know your heart. I know you're a good person. And they reconciled off of that comment. Danielle was like, yeah, I just rubbed you the wrong way. Like, I totally understand why you got upset. But then later, like I said, when Tavy ended up going through the phone, like 6 months later, she ended up finding out that Danielle was in the phone agreeing with her friend, like, yeah, no, I agree. Tavy's really toxic. So the whole summer ends up passing. This is where Tavy finds out that Danielle lied about a lot of stuff. She lied about having a car. She lied about being married. She lied about the whole sleeping with Zaria thing. Mind you, not only is Tavy's friends telling her, like, I don't know about Danielle for you, Danielle's own sister is telling her, like, you're too good for her, like, you should move on, da da da. Fast forward, Tavy ends up having to deal with an armed robbery in her home, right? It obviously really shook her up. And Danielle stepped up and was like, hey, just come stay with me, like, we'll figure everything out eventually, like, just come be somewhere safe. So Tavy told her, like, hey, I can put it on rent, this is not forever, like, I don't want to live with somebody that I'm dating, I just need to get back on my feet, right? And so she moves in with the sister and Danielle. When Tavy offered to pay a portion of the rent, Danielle was like, no, you're good, like, you need to get back on your feet, like, I'm gonna take care of everything, don't even worry about it. And even Danielle's mom said the same thing, like, no, girl, like, don't pay for nothing. As long as Danielle can cover her half of the rent, you're in her room, you don't need to pay nothing. So conflict between Danielle's sister and Tavy kind of arose because, mind you, Danielle told Tavy, like, hey, you're good, you don't have to pay any rent. But then Danielle went and told her sister, like, yeah, she's gonna pay when she can. So now there's two different narratives running. And so all of a sudden, Danielle's sister starts acting super, like, annoyed and fed up with Tavy, and Tavy's not really understanding why that's the case. Mind you, just off the strength of the relationship, Tavy was already so stressed out. You add the armed robbery on top of it, her stress was through the roof. She said in that 1 month, she lost like 16 pounds. And then outside of Danielle's sister, Danielle's friends also started acting really weird towards Tavy. And Tavy's like, is this because Danielle offered me a place to stay that you guys are acting really weird towards me? Fast forward, Tavy ends up finding out that the friends didn't like her because Danielle was telling her friends, like, I don't know if I really like Tavy yet. Like, I'm still filling it out. And Tavy's like, how are you figuring it out when we're being intimate on a daily basis? I'm staying with you. We're spending all our time together and you're still figuring me out. Danielle was trying to make it seem like Tavy's only here because she needs help. The relationship started back in May 2024. Tavy doesn't find out about all of this until November 11th, 2024. Danielle's still being super sweet towards Tavy. She's buying her anything she needs. She's making sure, like, if she ever like asks for something, it's taken care of. The whole time Danielle's also bashing her like relentlessly to her family and friends. I mean, the friends started getting really petty. Like, sometimes, you know, for holidays and stuff, Danielle and Tavy would match, right? And the friends would purposely be like, oh, Danielle, you look so cute. And even Danielle had to like start taking up for Tavy and be like, you mean we look cute? So the relationship really started to deteriorate when Tavy found out that for sure that Danielle was still talking to her ex. Danielle started becoming really aggressive. She started becoming really mean, really rude. She would like push past Tavy in the house. She would ignore her. She would scream in her face. When Tavy would confront her and be like, yo, why are you treating me like this? Like, what's going on? Danielle would be like, oh, you're being sensitive. Like, you need to relax. She would essentially gaslight her. So one of the biggest arguments that they had was on their way to a taco spot. Danielle was acting weird again, and Tavy said something to her along the lines of like, you're acting slow. And all of a sudden, Danielle starts throwing a fit. She starts crying. She starts smacking the dashboard of Tavy's car. Fast forward, Tavy's talking to Danielle's sister about the whole situation, and Danielle told the sister a completely different story. Danielle was like asleep at that time. So Tavy woke her up and said, hey, what did you tell your sister about that argument we had at the taco shop? Danielle's excuse was, I was drunk. I don't remember. So whenever they had these arguments, Danielle would double back later on and love bomb Tavy and tell her, oh, I'm so sorry. I love you. So fast forward, it's Veterans Day 2024, and Tavy told Danielle like, hey, I'm gonna take you out for Veterans Day, and they're like getting ready to go, and then all of a sudden Terry hits up Danielle and she's like, why are you letting Tavy take you out? I wanted to take you out for Veterans Day, blah blah blah. And so Tavy tells her, okay, like, invite Terry, like, I don't mind. Everybody can come. We're just going to dinner. And Danielle, again, spinning another narrative. She's like, no, I'm actually weaning myself off of Terry. All that girl does is smoke and drink, and she just wants to be with like 1,000 men. I just don't even want to be around her anymore. Danielle was like, Terry's super unattractive, and my family doesn't even like her. They just tolerate her. So Tavy was like, well, you make sure you tell Terry that you didn't want her to come around. I don't have a problem with Terry. So they're in the car, and out of nowhere, Tavy's like, Danielle, are you still talking to your ex? Like, just be honest with me. And that's when Danielle's like, well, we talk about like the kids and stuff like that, but not like on like a romantic level. And so Tavy's like, I don't understand. Like, these are your ex's kids that she had with other men. Why do you still need to like actively co-parent with her? Danielle's like, no, you're tripping. My ex doesn't even find me attractive anymore. So then Tavy's like, well, let me see the phone. Let me see your phone. Let me just make sure everything is like copacetic. Upon going through Danielle's phone, she finds out that Danielle had changed her ex's name in her phone to a completely different name. So all this time that Tavy was getting up to go to work and and she would see that new changed name in the phone, she had no idea it was the ex that she was talking to all this time. And when she went through their messages finally, she was like, oh my God, you've been sending her money. You've been doing nothing but sweet things for her. You've been saying really kind things to her. Not to mention whatever Danielle was saying about, oh, I'm only talking to her to talk about the kids. Complete lie. There was no conversation about the kids. Danielle actually was starting to struggle to pay her bills at her sister's house too. So you're sending this woman all this money, all while not making your own ends meet at the house that you live in. Maybe read this, her heart dropped. She said, I'm going to be quite honest with you. I smacked the living daylights out of Danielle when I read these messages. And she said, the wild part is her sister was sitting right there. She didn't intervene. She didn't do anything because she knew at the end of the day that Danielle wasn't completely over Tavia. So she's like, why am I going to intervene on this? Danielle's explanation for why she's so talking to her ex was just her crying and pleading, saying, please don't leave me. I love you. I was just so scared that you were going to leave me one day. So I just needed to have a backup plan. At this point, Tavia had had enough. She was like packing up her stuff. She's trying to get everything together so she can just leave this girl's house. But now Danielle's like grabbing on her. She's like bear hugging her. Tavy's like, I don't have any other choice but to sock you in your chest. So she just starts socking her until she can get her off of her so she can leave. Tavy leaves. She goes to another homegirl's house and she's telling her like what Danielle did. And the friend is like, oh my God, I thought Danielle was like so sweet to you and so kind. I can't believe like this is actually what was happening in the background. And upon going through the text messages, she looked up a bunch of other stuff too. Tavy even typed her own name into the search bar to see what she was saying. And she was so heartbroken to see that Danielle was like talking mess about her. She was downplaying the relationship. She was saying like, I don't know if I'm going to make her my girlfriend. Whole time Tavy was going around telling people that Danielle was her girlfriend. So she's just like, wow, like you were really playing in my face this entire time. One minute Danielle would be complaining to Tavy about her friends and being like, oh, my friends are so weird. Like, I don't know why she did this action, blah, blah, blah. But whole time Danielle's in the phone talking to her friends like, yeah, girl, you were totally justified in your action. Like, I totally understand why you did what you did. And so again, this constant narrative of her saying one thing to one person and a completely different thing to another person. I don't know what that's called. Is that pathological light? The next day, Tavia returns back home to Danielle, and Danielle took Tavy's car to go and like buy her a bunch of gifts and a bunch of other things, and she came back and was like begging her to stay, being like, I promise you I'll never disrespect you in that way again. I care about you so much. Telling her I'm going to change my ways. The only reason I'm like this is because I drink too much. And then when Tavy's telling her like, I really want you to get help with this alcoholism, like she'd be like, what are you talking about? It's not even that bad. When Tavy finally got to go through the phone, she was genuinely heartbroken because she was like, wow, I cried with this girl. I told her all the things that ever happened to me. Like, I was even trying to help her out. I was trying to be her girlfriend and a therapist. Like, I'm telling you, like, don't let people use you, stick up for yourself, only for you to turn around, me telling you to stick up for yourself and weaponizing it against me. Once they reconciled again after the whole like going through the phone situation, Tavy said that the situation between them was just completely even worse than it was before. They're arguing every single night, they're screaming, and mind you, the sister is right there. She can hear everything, but Tavy at that point didn't care. She's going at it. She's like, I can yell louder than Danielle, so she might say something, but then Tavy would just go off. Every night they ended with love bombing each other, like, oh, I care about you so much, you're my person, da-da-da. So every night they would argue, they would go to sleep on good terms and wake up on good terms, only to divulge back into an argument before the day ended anyway. Tavy said that they were arguing so much to the point that when it was Tavy's birthday, she had lockjaw because she was yelling so much. Danielle would say things like, I hate that this situation is bringing this side of me out. I'm not really like this. This is out of character. This is really just the alcohol. She would tell Tavy, you're such a great person. I don't know why my sister and my friends have an issue with you. Like, I know who you are. So like I said, the way that Danielle's sister treated Tavy was also changing. I mean, they were cool at one point. Like, they would hang out, they would watch movies together. Like, even if Danielle was around or not, like, Danielle's sister and Tavy would hang out, right? All of a sudden, there was beef. And so she was not really understanding why the beef was percolating. Come to find out, the sister had proposed that all three of them split the rent 3 ways. And so Tavy's like, why would I do that? I'm not splitting the rent 3 ways. I'm sharing a room with the girl that I'm dating. Like, I'm not about to do that. And Danielle and the sister's mom agreed, like, she doesn't need to be paying full rent as long as Danielle's covering it. So one day, Danielle and Danielle's sister are yelling, right? And Tavy's minding her business. She's walking right past them. And then Danielle's sister says a slick little comment. All of a sudden, Tavy said something to her along the lines of like, I'll smack the shit out of you, right? And so Tavy was actually on the phone with one of her homegirls, and her homegirl was like, please don't touch that girl, don't touch that girl. Because Tavy knew, like, I might be smaller than you guys. Tavy felt like they were just testing her toughness, and Tavy's like, that doesn't make sense. I will go at it with you guys. Like, don't test me kind of thing. And so Tavy's like, yeah, was I problematic in this situation? Sure. Should I have been yelling so loud that the sister can hear us, arguing every single night? Probably not. So after the whole conversation about them splitting the rent 3 ways came up, Tavy was like, look, if the situation needs to be made more comfortable, I don't mind putting $200 in for the rent, right? Like, that's no problem for me. And so she started doing so, only to find out that Tavy's giving money, Danielle's pocketing it, the sister's getting more upset. So then finally, everything comes to a head, and Tavy's like, why weren't you giving the sister the money that I was giving you? And Danielle's like, I don't think I owe my sister anything. Like, I don't have to give her nothing. This literally broke down Danielle's sister. She started crying because she's finally realized, like, wow, my sister really just be lying. The argument between the sister, Danielle, and Tavy goes on for hours, and it ends with the sister being like, well, I'm gonna move my friend in there. All of a sudden, Danielle's like, no, you're not bringing your friend, because every time Zaria comes around, you start acting weird, you start acting different. That girl's full of drama. And then Tavy's like, well, I'm just gonna move out. Like, I'm not about to be around you and your like ex fling. Like, I'm not doing it, right? And so then all of a sudden Danielle's like, no, if you're leaving, I'm leaving. And Danielle's sister is sitting there like, yeah, I kind of already told Zaria she can move in. Ultimately, Danielle and Tavy both leave. They go stay at Tavy's mom's house for a bit. And then shortly after that, they get approved for an apartment or house in the same neighborhood as the mom. So it kind of all just worked out. While they're moving their stuff out, Tavy's getting the silent treatment from everybody. And she's like, you know what? I don't care. You guys have been tormenting me for 6 months. That's fine. Do whatever you need to do. I'm getting out of this space. And they move into the new house March 14th, 2025. And Tavy covers everything. It was like $4,800 for them to move in and all the expenses and stuff. Tavy paid all of it. Only to find out that Danielle's family actually gave her money to be able to move, but she just pocketed the whole thing. Tavy wasn't really tripping. It only took her like 10 days to make that $4,800 at the strip club, but she was still like Don't tell people that you paid for everything when it's clearly not true. Because now Danielle's running around saying like, oh, I paid for everything. Girl, no, you didn't. So then fast forward, she's telling us the breakdown of how they were going to split the rent, right? So the rent was going to be like $1,400, $1,500. So they were going to pay $750 each, right? But the way that Danielle's money is set up, it's a one-time check that she gets from the government for her military services. I don't know if it's disability or whatever, but it's like $2,000 some dollars. So when she gets that $2,000, there's nothing else coming in as far as income for her. Because she was running out of money, and then by the time rent came around, she had nothing left in her pockets, they basically decided you're going to pay the whole $1,400 in rent plus your $200 for the couch that you're supposed to be paying that your dad has been on your head about, and then I'll take care of everything else, groceries, gas. Fast forward, Danielle gets her tax money, right? She gets $15,000. Do you guys know that she spent all that money in 1 month? And they already had everything that they needed in the house as far as like multiple televisions, couches, all the big furniture stuff was taken care of. But she was just running it up, getting groceries, whatever that Tavy asked for, whatever obviously Danielle wanted herself. She blew through that $15,000 in less than a month. And Tavy sitting there like, damn, if I knew you were going to do that, I would have just helped you manage the money. Tavy and Danielle end up taking a trip down to Tampa to go visit Tavia's dad's gravesite. Her car is really good on gas, so they paid like maybe $65 in gas. While they're out there, Danielle finally does like an official, girlfriend proposal to Tavia, which obviously confused Tavia. She was like, I thought we were girlfriends this whole time, but okay. On the way back, Tavia asked Danielle, like, hey, can I borrow $50? And Danielle's like, oh, actually, I was gonna see if you could help me cover my portion of rent this month because I spent so much on your girlfriend proposal that I only have $300 left in my account. And Tavy's sitting there like, when were you planning on telling me this? Tavy's like, it's fine, let's just go home. Let me go to the club and I'll make our rent. So as Tavy realized that she needed to be at the club more and more because Danielle was not going to be helping much, Danielle took full advantage of that. She was like, oh, you're about to make all this money at the club? Well, I'm going to turn into even more of an alcoholic. And so all of a sudden, she's always drunk. Every holiday, Danielle's getting completely belligerently drunk. And with her family, she's a good time. She's completely keeping herself, in control. And then the minute they get home, she's vomiting. She's completely blacked out. She's all over the place. And so Tavy is like, I feel like this is manipulation because with your family, you're a good old time. And then with me, you're an absolute mess. We can't even be intimate because you're so blacked out drunk. So now Tavy's like, I'm just going to make sure I pay my portion of the rent. You pay your portion of the rent and then make sure you pay the $200 for that couch that you have. Tavy's like, just to be clear, yeah, she spent some of that $15,000 on me, but she never paid my portion of the rent ever. Like she never covered me. So now Tavy's really going through it. She's spending hours in the car crying. She's not really trying to tell people, Danielle's business because she's like, that's my partner. So she starts sending her like AA information. She's trying to get her as much help as possible. The one person Tavy did open up to, she completely, regretted it right after. She's like, damn, I shouldn't have said anything. Danielle would do manipulative things like, oh, I finally am going to go to the VA and get some benefits and try to get therapy, And only when, things would be at their height would she be like, okay, I'm going to like look into resources to like help myself. But in reality, Danielle would just say it. She would never actually follow through and contact the VA. Tavy got so frustrated, she reached out to Danielle's sister, her friends, and was just like, look, she's an alcoholic. You guys need to help her, right? In response to Tavy doing that, Danielle told her friends and family, oh, she's just nagging me. She's such a bother. She just doesn't want me to have fun and enjoy myself. But on the flip side, because there's a flip side, Danielle's telling her, like, thank you so much for being patient with me. I'm just like super depressed. I just like really need to figure this out. Like, you're so amazing. Thank you for helping me through this. Shortly after that, she would be like, what are you talking about? My drinking's not an issue. Like, you're nagging me. I can only imagine how frustrating Tavy was getting. The only reason that Danielle was even able to say like, oh, I was the one paying all the bills was because Tavy was taking all the money that she was making as a midnight ballerina and she was depositing it into Danielle's account. And then Danielle would have all the apps on her phone to pay off all the bills. Or so she thought. Whole time, Danielle was not paying any of the bills. She was just pocketing the money that Tavia was putting into her account. And then when the bills would come back and they'd be double or the services would be cut off or the car would be taken away temporarily, who had to go fix all those issues? Tavy did. When Tavy would go to Danielle and be like, what is wrong with you? You told me you paid all the bills at your ex-girlfriend's house. I don't understand. What's the issue about paying the bills with us? And Danielle would tell her like, oh, it's because, like you're just so responsible. I've never dealt with somebody so responsible like you. So then after a while of convincing her, Tavy was eventually able to get Danielle to sign up for trucking classes, right? She's a veteran. Like they pay you to go to school as a veteran. You get your BH. And so she's finally getting a little bit more money, but she just kept failing the drug test. She kept failing to the point that Tavy was like, why don't you just get fake pee and pass the test? And she's like, no, I want to be honest about it. But she kept failing to the point that like she just had to drop out of the school because she failed the drug test 3 times. Meanwhile, Tavy wants her to have the most comfortable situation going to school. So she's giving her her car and she's only working at nighttime and turning down job opportunities that she can have during the day because she's like, well, my girl needs the car, so I'm just going to work as a midnight ballerina instead. Danielle's continuously failing the drug test, she's telling her parents and her family, oh, I just pushed back the date. I just pushed back the date, not telling them the truth of why she doesn't have her CLD yet. Eventually, Danielle got hired at Allied Security, and Tavy would still make sure that she got her to work, that she didn't have to struggle to like get back and forth. And you're probably thinking like, why doesn't Tavy just leave? She just felt like she had gone through hell with Danielle. As things were progressing and getting better, she didn't want to just dip out at that point. Tavy ended up giving Danielle an ultimatum and being like, hey, if you don't stop drinking, like I'm gonna have to leave you. Danielle definitely slowed down a little bit, and then there was just one day that Danielle got really drunk, and that's when Tavy realized like, you're never gonna change, like you're gonna just keep doing this. So Tavy sent her like an 8-page essay basically telling her about herself, and then Danielle's gonna come home drunk, of course, and tell her like, you're such a nag, like you're so annoying, you don't let me drink, you don't let me be myself. And Tavy's looking at her like, being an alcoholic is not being yourself. I am someone that's myself authentically through and through. But who I am does not impede or inconvenience you. You being an alcoholic actually inconveniences me. You've gotten my car taken away. You made me backed up on bills. You've actually affected my life in such a negative manner because you're an alcoholic. Danielle was basically being like, you don't let me get violently drunk and throw up all over myself. And Tavy's like, that's a character flaw. That's not a part of your character. So Tavy told her, I can't do this anymore. We have to break up. She told her, it's not because I want to date other people. It's because I want you to do better. I want you to go and heal and not even be better for the sake of us being back in a relationship, but because you want to do better in life. Even though they broke up, Tavy was still driving Danielle to work. She was still trying to be there for her. Danielle's like, oh yeah, I finally like scheduled my VA appointment. Like I'm gonna go get my, sexual health also checked out. Like I'm gonna take care of everything. And again, Tavy's telling her like, do this for yourself, not for me. And so one day she comes home and Danielle's passed out on the couch, drunk as hell. And so Tavy's like, I'm not even gonna bring this up. I don't even care. Like she just walked right past her. The next day she wakes up, she goes to church. Danielle doesn't say anything. Danielle ends up texting her like either after church or in the middle and saying like, hey, there's a package for you. I put it in front of your door. Tavy's like, okay, cool. And then all of a sudden, Danielle starts blowing up Tavy's phone. It's like, you unfollowed me on social media. You unfollowed me on social media. Tavy's like, I unfollowed you days ago. Like, what are you even talking about right now? So a little bit of context. Danielle had not paid her phone bill for like 3 months. So her phone obviously got cut off. She told her family, my phone's broken. Tavy's like, yeah, your phone's broken because I broke it when I found out everything. But then the very next day I went and got your screen fixed. Your phone's not off because it's broken. Your phone's off because you stopped paying it. And then I put you on my phone plan. Tavy, like the main reason why she was able to get away with so much and people believed her was because Tavy wasn't telling their business. Danielle was the one out there running whatever narrative she wanted to, all while when Tavy did talk about Danielle, she talked about her in a positive light. And after church, Tavy goes to one of her homegirls' houses, and all of a sudden she starts getting messages from Danielle talking out the side of her neck. She was like, yeah, you can get out the house, trying to flex and say, I pay all the bills. Immediately, Tavy was like, you're trying to show out for somebody. I don't know who's around you right now, but you're talking really crazy right now. Whole time, Tavy's at her homegirl's house like, yeah, I just really want, Danielle to do better. I want her to like be better, blah, blah, blah. And then Danielle's in her phone just like berating her. And so then at that point, Tavy went off the handles. It takes a lot to get me riled up, and now I'm riled up. She's like, you're lying. You're a loser. You've never paid any bills around us. Tavy's friend's like, honestly, girl, you just need to let that relationship go. So at this point, Tavy's like, I'm just going to go pull up back to my house. Like, what is this girl even talking about? So she pulls up to the house. Danielle's not there. She's looking around. Tavy's dog's also missing. So she calls Danielle. She's like, hey, where's my dog? You want to kick me at the house? Like, that's fine, but like, where's my dog? And all Danielle keeps saying is like, yeah, I'm kicking you out because I paid all the bills. Tavy's like, I know exactly where you are. You're at your auntie's house. I'm about to pull up. So she pulls up to the auntie's house. She's banging on the door. Boom, 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 boom. Danielle's not opening the door. Her big older cousin that's a male opens the door and he's like, yeah, you need to leave, da-da-da. And Tavy's like, I don't want to hear nothing about that. Danielle doesn't stop texting Tavy, whether it was while Tavy was on the way to the auntie's house or while she's even there arguing with her older cousin. She's still texting her the entire time. The male cousin is like, oh, I'm on probation. You need to get out of here with all that. Like, I can't have you in front of my mom's house, like talking crazy. Tavy's like, I don't care. Tell Danielle to come outside. Tavy's friend's on the phone with her, like, girl, just leave. The police are going to be called. And Tavy's like, I don't care. So Tavy calls the aunt, no answer. She calls Danielle's mom, no answer. So Tavy's like, forget it. I'm just going to go back home. I'm going to pack up everything. She packed up a little bit of the decor that she had bought for the house. She packed up the laptop, the computer. Granted, those are things that Danielle bought her, but she's like, you bought them for me. They're gifts. And Tavy's like, there's proof. Like, I tweeted about you buying me all these things, so I told the world already. So Tavy's like, when Danielle's claiming and saying, oh, I took a bunch of stuff from the house that wasn't mine, she's talking about paper towels and decor and then stuff that she bought me as gifts. So while Danielle's talking all this mess, like, you don't pay for nothing, that's my place, get out, da-da-da, Danielle's like, oh, you pay for everything? Okay, cool. She turned off the Wi-Fi because Tavy paid for the Wi-Fi. She turned off Danielle's phone because, again, she pays for the phone. And she turned off all the security cameras because she's like, what are we even talking about? Like, if you were paying for all these things, how do I have the power to shut off all these services? Tavy's brother is back in town. And Tavy calls her brother, tells him everything that's going on. And then the brother ends up calling Danielle and being like, yo, you need to give Tavy the rest of her belongings back. There's no questions about that. And Danielle refuses. She's like, oh, if she wants her stuff back, how's she going to do that? Is she going to break into my house? So Tavy and the brother decide to pull up and get her stuff back. By then, Tavy had already contacted the police and asked for a police escort as well. When the brother and Tavy get back to the apartment that Danielle and Tavy shared, she can hear all these people inside of their apartment, which really upset Tavy because she was like, these are all the people that you were talking mess about, that you were dragging. Now they're just like in my house talking all this mess. And Tavy was like, yeah, I had a gun with me. Like, there's 4 girls in there that have a lot of animosity towards me. You think I was going to come empty-handed? One of the friends ends up opening up the door and looking at Danielle and being like, what do you want? The police are on the phone with Tavy. The girls in the house have no idea that Tavy's on the phone with the police. And so the police are telling her, like, do not engage, like, just wait for us to arrive. And another one of Danielle's friends comes out and she's like, I've been waiting to beat you up for a year. Danielle never comes outside. Tavy's like, she knew better. So the police finally arrive and they tell Tavy, hey, we just need to see like a bill. We just need to see some type of proof that you live in this residence. And Tavy forgot that she took all of that stuff to her mom's house and they live in the same neighborhood. So she's walking over to go get the stuff from her mom's house. And then all of a sudden a car pulls up on her. One of Danielle's other cousins hops out the car and he puts a gun to Tavy and he's like, I'll blast you right now. I'll blast you right now. So now Tavy's looking at him like, what are you even talking about? She makes it back to her mom's house and now her brother is on 10. He's so pissed off. The police tell Tavy, hey, come back to the scene. Like, we need to talk to you. And Tavy walks back over and she's like, how did you just let her cousin pull up on me and threaten me with a gun? Like, how is that even something that was possible? And the cops, she said they were young and ineffective. They were like, what do you mean he came over and threatened you with a gun? Where did that happen? The gun and the other guy in the car drive off and leave the neighborhood. So now they're trying to chase the guy that's walking. But so now Tavy's really pissed because she just got threatened with a whole gun. And so she's walking around, she's mad as hell. And so the cops end up arresting Tavy and being like, yeah, this is disorderly conduct. And she's trying to walk, she's trying to get close to Danielle, and the cops are like following her around, like, nope. Now all of a sudden Danielle and her friends want to just pipe down and be quiet, and now Tavy looks like she's the problem. Tavy's mom finally arrives on the scene and she's trying to talk Danielle into like some common sense and be like, just let Tavy get her stuff, like, it's not that big of a deal. The cops literally look at Tavy and they're like, look, you're a very beautiful woman. I think you should be the bigger person in this situation and just walk away. I don't think things went in Tavy's favor in the end because she started the series being like, I'm going to jail, so I'm going to tell it all. And she's like, allegedly now I'm going to be going to jail. I don't know if it's just the fact that she has a court case on her and she doesn't know how it's going to end up yet. But either way, that's essentially what happened and how her relationship kind of devolved. I mean, the fact that Danielle always had 2 sides to the story, like she's telling a group of people one story, all while telling Tavia a different story, I think is where a lot of the contention kind of comes from. I feel for Tavia, this is a really, messy situation, but you guys tagged me in this a bunch. I wanted to make sure I got it out to you guys. I appreciate you guys as always. Bye.